Welcome to the Your Take podcast. Welcome back. Me and Jim just had the opportunity to watch the Heat and Pacers game. So we're going to be talking about some of the things we saw in that game, as well as kind of other things that have stuck out to us so far in the bubble. So Jim, I know you're a big Pacers fan. Talk to me about that Heat Pacers game. The Pacers kind of just got whooped a little bit.
Yeah, it was not good from my perspective. So the first half looked a lot better. The Pacers, like in the first quarter, they were down big, and then they kind of brought it back. I think they only ended up down two, is 21-23. And they ended at half, 48 apiece. So I was encouraged by seeing that because I'm like, we've been down most of the game. I think we led for the first time with like a couple minutes left to go in the second quarter, and we'd been down by as much as 12. And I was like, okay, we're hanging with them. Obviously, I was a little concerned that what's his name? Spacing.
What position? What guy? What team?
The Heat. He's on the Heat.
Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Kelly Olynyk, Tyler
Comes off the
Hero,
bench.
Jay Kraut, Andre.
Dunk contest champion.
Derrick Jones Jr. Derrick Jones Jr.
Yes, Derrick Jones. Okay, all right, yeah. So Derrick Jones Jr. was looking really good in the first. Like, we had no answer for him, and I really feel like that's showing the lack thereof of no Sabonis and no real clear option to replace Sabonis with him being out. Because we didn't make Bam look. He didn't look spectacular in the first. Now, granted, the second was a little different story, but I really feel like the Pacers kind of just relied on three a little too much. Like, they shot poorly from three as well. You can't. Another thing is you can't rely on T.J. Warren to carry the team every night. Like, he only had 12 tonight, which might be another reason we got smacked. But I was confident and hopeful after the first half, but like really early on in the second half, I was kind of just like, man, I don't know. And we were talking earlier that this probably will be a playoff matchup, and I hope the Pacers can kind of figure out a way to replace Sabonis because without him, I feel like yes, we've been playing better offensively, but I feel like we won't be able to really keep up with teams if they go big and kind of pound us in the paint.
What stuck out to me about this game in the first half, I actually was surprised. Like, normally I'm not the biggest Miles Turner guy in the world, but Miles Turner did a hell of a job on Bam Adebayo in the first half. They were trying to run pick and rolls. I tweeted this out actually, but they were putting Bam Adebayo in his usual pick and rolls, and they were giving him in the post. And Miles Turner's just standing there, like arms up, just like not fouling and just giving him a tough time. I actually thought that the Pacers. But going into the game, I thought the Heat bench was a lot better than the Pacers bench. But that end of the first quarter, early second quarter, the Pacers bench went on a huge run. T.J. McConnell, my guy, got a few really nice buckets, a couple and ones, I think. Who else? Jakar Sampson looked pretty good. Justin Holiday hit a three or so. Pacers bench made a nice little run, and I was like, wow, like it looks pretty good, like defensively and everything. But I think kind of what you mentioned with Derrick Jones Jr., we kind of saw the offensive rebounds and the second chance points just absolutely killed the Pacers. Kind of towards the end of the first half, and then almost the entire second half. And something that I kind of saw, I think when T.J. Warren was balling out, put up 30, 40, 50 points a game as we've seen, he does a really, really good job of hiding the fact that Sabonis is out, as well as hiding the fact that Victor Oladipo is clearly not at 100%. You can just tell he's not driving as much. He doesn't want the ball in his hands as much. And T.J. Warren did a fantastic job of hiding those things. And I think when T.J. Warren struggles, it's really easy to see those pieces are missing for the Pacers. And I think this will be a first round playoff matchup. And I really think that I can't believe I'm saying this. 2 weeks ago people would have laughed at me, but the Pacers will go as far as T.J. Warren can take them. And I really think that.
Yeah, I would not disagree. Because like even Malcolm Brogdon hasn't been playing super great. Granted, kind of and whatnot, but I don't know. The Pacers are I feel like they're losing steam kind of with some of the injuries, like losing Sabonis was big. And as you said, yeah, TJ Warren is kind of as far as we can go. And if he's not hitting, I don't know how far we're going to take it. Especially like, I mean, Jimmy didn't even have a great game tonight. And I mean, not a spectacular game, but he still made the Pacers look pretty bad. Like he was getting his points in the paint. He wasn't shooting a lot of jumpers, but
Got to the line a
he was really
shit
getting it
ton.
done.
He got to the line a shit ton. That was
Yeah.
I love the Heat.
So
The Heat tonight's game. I haven't really watched a ton of Heat games, especially when Jimmy Butler is out. They definitely do not look as great. But man, the Heat tonight. I mean, the second half especially. Everyone when their shooters get going, they have like 6 or 7 different guys shooting above 40% from three. Like even guys like Kelly Olynyk can knock it down. Who like Kelly Olynyk being I think 43% 3-point shooter, would not have thought that going into the season. Obviously, Duncan Robinson has been best shooter in the league this whole year, maybe with Steph Curry being out for most of it. And then Tyler Hero, you got Jay Crowder's been a great addition to this team. And then you have like guys like Andre Iguodala off the bench, who's not a great 3-point shooter, but defensively, I think the Heat could really cause a lot of matchup problems, especially if they do get past the Pacers in the first round. I'm not saying they will, but if they do, they could give the Bucks a tough time. I know the Bucks give up like the most threes in the league, and the Heat love taking threes. So I think the Heat are really a team to watch.
yeah, because I mean, even if you look at it, Bam is athletic enough to guard Giannis, so that could be a very interesting point going forward.
I also think that Jimmy Butler, like the Heat are kind of built like the Rockets a little bit, where Jimmy Butler's kind of like imagine if Russell Westbrook was on this team instead of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's kind of like that Russell Westbrook role. He's not a great 3-point shooter at all. He loves to drive. He loves drawing free throws, and then he's just gonna drive and just kick out to just a plethora of shooters. And like, kind of like you said with the Bucks matchups, I agree that Bam Adebayo has the athleticism to guard Giannis, and I actually think that if they put Brook Lopez on the floor, you could probably stick Kelly Olynyk in, who on defense could cover Brook Lopez, and on offense could be a stretch four that again Jimmy would be able to kick to if needed.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
What else?
The Heat, I mean, they're nice. They're real good. Hopefully, they don't beat my Pacers in the first round. But if they did, maybe they give the Bucks a tough time.
And I would say Jimmy Butler kind of found. I'm a Six. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a Sixers fan at this point. We gave Jimmy Butler a lot of shit for leaving. We were pretty pissed off about that. But at the end of the day, I mean, Jimmy made the right call for him, for his style of play, for being able to be the. He's kind of proven to the NBA right now. Listen, I can be the number one option on a team, and we can be a top 4 team in the East. And everything that happened in Chicago, everything that happened in Minnesota, he's kind of putting that all behind him and is like, NBA, like here I am. I will briefly say I was a little disappointed that the Jimmy Butler TJ Warren beef did not seem very relevant, even like very like intense at all in tonight's game.
Yeah, honestly, neither of them started super hot either. I mean, they kind of both just weren't making shots to start. So I think, you know, there's probably it's been a decent amount of time since that altercation happened. I mean, there's been so much that's like the whole shutdown and whatnot, and people are probably looking at the bigger picture. But yeah, I was also kind of expecting maybe a little something. I mean, obviously, with the Heat going back to the LeBron days, the Heat Pacers rivalry is pretty strong. So I'm glad to see it still continuing on with these new players. But yeah, I was kind of expecting a little something more there too.
So let's move on from this Heat Pacers game a little bit. What else has stuck out to you in the bubble so far?
Well, so one thing I've kind of noticed is there haven't been too many blowouts, like overall throughout the league. I mean, except for I did watch that Celtics Raptors game, where the Raptors got absolutely torched. Um, but really most games are within like 10-ish points for the most part that I've seen. Like they're always usually pretty competitive right till the end when people start fouling, but that's been something that's really interesting to me. And then another thing is, despite it being in a bubble and technically a neutral court situation, the home team has still won 61% of the games. I
Oh
believe the
wow.
numbers are it's 39 to 25 in favor of home to away, which I thought was pretty interesting because I was texting one of my buddies about, "Oh, maybe the Pacers can get that 4 seed and take home court." And he's like, "Dude, home court doesn't matter." And then I was like, "Oh, I guess you're right." But I looked into it a little more and I was like, it might matter a little more than people give it credit for. Like the home team has been coming out on top more often than not.
The
So
virtual fans,
who
the
knows what that
virtual fans are being loud for him, I guess.
the virtual fans have been great. Honestly, I've been dying when they cut over and see some of the like I think Shaq was at a game.
I just got on the screen earlier this week. I was at the Sixers Magic game. I was on the screen for a little bit. It was
yeah,
pretty
dude,
clowning. I was next to a
I think
I was saying there was a woman holding a baby next to me the entire game, so it was pretty funny to see literally just me cheering and then this woman is holding her baby right next to me like on the virtual screen.
yeah, dude, that's what honestly virtual fans is a great idea. I'm glad the NBA implemented that to like at least give some sort of the fans of an experience. I might have to try and get on myself. I might have a few connections that can get me
You gotta
there.
text
So maybe I'll get into this
you
next
gotta text
Pacers Heat
Baldwin. You gotta
game.
text Baldwin.
Oh yeah, might get into this next Pacers Heat game in a couple days.
Do you know? I need to brought up that record with the home teams doing really well. Do you know if by any chance have like the home teams for the most part been like the quote unquote like better team or the team with a better record, or it's just like a almost like a fluky thing that we're seeing?
I didn't look too extensively into that, but like I mean the Suns have been home for a decent amount of games technically, so like that's a couple wins you can add. Like the Pacers were at home when they beat the Lakers. So I
The
wouldn't say
Sixers,
not
the
always.
Sixers are actually still under are still they were like 27-2 at home coming into the bubble, and now they're 30-2 at home. So same thing with them.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's always the case for the better team because I mean, there were some games where it was like the Kings won on the road against like the Spurs or something like that. So it's not always the better team that wins, but like surprisingly, the home team has been winning a lot more, which I thought was very interesting, seeing as how it's all technically neutral court.
One of the things that stuck out to me so far, I know you brought up Bogdanovich just before you hopped on this call, but the Utah Jazz. I don't know if you saw the Utah Jazz Denver Nuggets. They played a double overtime game. Donovan Mitchell hit like it was like in the first overtime, end of the regulation. Donovan Mitchell hit like a couple threes and some big free throws to tie it up, and then in overtime, the Nuggets start off like up 7 or 8 in the first part of overtime, and then Mitchell had like 3 straight possessions where he hit an and one and 2 threes to tie the game back up and give the Jazz another chance. But Bogdanovich, you could see his presence is kind of missed on the floor for them. I know you kind of brought that up earlier.
Yeah, no, I mean, so you have Donovan Mitchell as your quote unquote star, which I'm glad he's starting to play like it, and he played like that in this overtime game. But I mean, he kind of looked a little lost the first couple games in the bubble. He didn't really look like the Donovan Mitchell I've seen in the past. And I mean, Rudy Gobert's like he's all right, but he's mostly just there for defense. And Mike Conley's not what he used to be. I mean, I remember watching Mike Conley all the way back in college at Ohio State, and then like all those years in Memphis. He can still hoop, don't get me wrong, but he's nowhere near the same kind of shooter. Or I mean, his driving ability's still there, but he can't. I don't think he can shoot near as well as
He's
he
falling
used
off
to.
defensively too.
So, so I mean, Bogdanovich, another great former Pacer. So I know what he can do. Dude's a bucket, and like without his presence, the Jazz looked not very like I really like they played the Pelicans in that first game, and they just nobody could score. Like they really struggled to find offense, which is concerning going forward into the playoffs. So I'm glad Bogdanovich is back, but like if something else happens to him,
I don't think
I
he's
don't know
back.
what's
He's not
gonna
back.
happen with the
He's not
Jazz.
back. But
Is he not? I thought he
no, no,
played.
no. I don't think he played. He's just he's out. He like is out for the season. He had surgery before the bubble happened. But Donovan Mitchell kind of started
Well,
picking.
then
Jordan Clarkson's been picking up the slack for him a lot. Donovan Mitchell's been trying to. But yeah, they're trying to make up that like what 19 points a game he averaged with 43% 3-point shooting. So definitely a big piece to try to make up.
yep, I'm gonna prayers up to the Jazz fans because that man, that you missing that man's gonna be tough.
Yeah, they already got beef with Mitchell and Gobert too. They can't even, now they have another piece missing. Something that stuck out to me, like I know we briefly mentioned it when we were talking about AD in the previous segment, but the Lakers, man, like I know LeBron's gonna play 42 minutes a game in the playoffs, playoff LeBron, playoff AD, but Anthony Davis, I mean, from the games I've watched, especially like the Raptors and Thunder game that the Lakers both lost, there kind of seems to be a little bit of like a formula to beating the Lakers. I think the guard play the Lakers, Danny Green and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope are getting schooled as the starting guards of the Lakers. Fred VanVleet had a career high in that Lakers game, and Kyle Lowry balled out too. Actually, VanVleet might have had a career high in another game, but VanVleet and Kyle Lowry absolutely destroyed the Lakers. And then Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander also destroyed the Lakers guards. Like the Lakers guard play, and that's why this Blazers series is so interesting. I don't get you can't cover like Chris Paul and Shai, and you can't cover VanVleet and Lowry. How do you expect to cover CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard? And kind of the second piece of that, outside of the guard mismatch, teams that have had, I guess, like an adequate big man of some kind, they're not playing fantastic defense on Anthony Davis. It's pretty hard to stop Anthony Davis at all, but any kind of big man or center that can give Anthony Davis even some kind of challenge. It seemed like, I know the Raptors threw Siakam, Ibaka, and Gasol all at him. The Thunder had Steven Adams on him for a lot of the game. The Pacers, even with the double teams, it seems like if you can find a way to somewhat slow down Anthony Davis and have really strong guards against Danny Green and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you're going to be at a big advantage. As we've seen, LeBron is always going to get his in the playoffs. We've seen it for the last decade. No one's stopping LeBron in the playoffs. But if you can slow the pieces around him and kind of take advantage of some of the defensive mismatches, maybe see with the guards of the Lakers, it's kind of worked for a few different teams so far.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all remember the Lakers of last year without Anthony Davis. Like, yeah, LeBron was still there, but they weren't that good. So, I mean, they haven't really, I mean, besides Anthony Davis, in my opinion, they added pieces around LeBron that he knows works, but that don't always work together, if that makes sense. Because, like, I know he brought a bunch of makeshift pieces together, like when he was in Cleveland for that last finals run. Like, you had JR, you had all, like, and there's, again, here they are signing JR, signing all these guys. And it's like, LeBron knows them, and, like, it's worked in the past, but I don't know if it's going to continue to work. And, like, I hate to. LeBron is getting older. Don't get me wrong. He's still gonna ball, but he is getting older, and time might be starting to catch up a little bit. So, you, I'm sure if he ever heard me say that, he would just go and drop like 50 points and just prove me wrong. But, yeah, if you can kind of slow down or decrease Anthony Davis's efficiency on the floor, at least on the offensive end, we're looking at a very similar Lakers team to last year, who wasn't very good. So, yeah, I've been disappointed with their play in the bubble, but obviously I'm sure it's all going to change here in a couple days when we get to the
Yeah, the last
playoffs.
point I want to make about the Lakers, and then we can, before we move on, is it's also the first time in LeBron's, like, not the first time in his career, but it's the first super team he's been on. Besides, I guess, the year when Kyrie Irving got traded to the Celtics and it was just him and Kevin Love. But besides the point, the first super team where he is the ball handler. The Heat team, he had Dwayne Wade. The Cavs teams, he had Kyrie Irving for a while. And now it's literally like, well, Rajon Rondo's out. So, LeBron, if you're not playing point guard, we can have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope come play point guard for you. And so now LeBron's got to literally be the best guard and the best forward, and hopefully Anthony Davis can start showing he's the best big man in the league. But this is probably I know it's the first time he's had two top 5 players, but it's also just the first time where he's gonna have to be the ball handler and like the only ball handler on the team.
Point forward, LeBron. I'm so here for it though.
Yeah.
I'm expecting triple doubles out the ass from LeBron now. If he's gonna be primary ball handler, he better be getting at least 10 assists for me.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, before we go, any last final thoughts? Anything else big that has stuck out to you so far?
We've hit most of them. I'm just mostly so thankful that basketball's back. Something to enjoy my time and fill it with, as opposed to literally doing nothing. So, I'm glad that it's back, and I'm very excited for these playoffs coming up here pretty
Let me
soon.
ask you real quick. I
Because,
know I'm putting you on the spot. I know I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this, but what's your finals prediction if you had to give me one right now?
my finals prediction. As much as I hate to say it, I do think the Bucks are gonna make it out of the East. I want to feel like they're gonna lose, kind of, but like I just don't feel like there's a star out there like Kawhi that can stop them. And then coming out of the West, I know I just said Kawhi's name, so here he comes, the Clippers. So yeah, the Clippers are good. They're very good. When they get Montrezl Harrell back, I feel like they'll be damn near unstoppable. So I have Clippers Bucks as my NBA
Who do you
Finals.
got winning?
I'd like to see Kawhi win, go back to back with two different teams. I feel like that would be super incredible to watch, especially because like last year, I remember I was staying up at like I was getting up at 3, 4 in the morning. I was in Italy just to watch Kawhi win that championship. So it'd kind of be cool to, come full circle and see him do it again, but this time actually get to be awake at a reasonable time.
So you got Clippers?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Clippers, but I'm saying it probably goes 7 games.
I have
I would like to.
I have Clippers Bucks as well. That's my pick. I saw it was Kevin Durant's pick when he was talking to some reporter a couple of days ago. And briefly, you're talking about Kawhi Leonard, 4 a.m. I was in Germany during Game 7 Sixers Raptors last year, and big Sixers fan obviously. About 5 in the morning, Kawhi Leonard hits that little shot.
Hits that shot, baby.
I kind of lost it. Me and my roommate, we got a noise complaint at the hotel because I kind of lost it for a second. But it's all good.
It's understandable. That was a tough one to. I mean, I was pretty geeked because that was an insane shot as a non-Sixers. But I can understand if that happened to my team, I would be absolutely devastated.
Hoping we'll see another buzzer beater like that this year, so I can stop seeing it on every single NBA TV and NBA commercial replay for literally everyone that comes up. Every playoff commercial is a Kawhi shot.
As long as Dame gets in, bro, it's always Dame time.
Absolutely,
it's always Dame time.
Well, thank you, Jim. This was definitely great. Really appreciated having you on. Really excited for the playoffs. We're a little under a week away. Next Monday, playoffs will finally be starting. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to some playoff preview podcasts coming around next weekend, early next week. So stay tuned for those. Have a good night. Thanks again, Jim.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.